All right. Now, first of all, I'd like to thank you for checking out my channel, How to Move to Thailand. Hopefully you've been enjoying some of these videos. Now I'm with Alex, real estate consultant slash entrepreneur. We're going to talk more about land plots, and I'm excited to share this information with you guys. So Alex, can you enlighten them? What would it cost? First of all, what size of this land plot? What size you
First of all, hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. First of all, hello. Yeah. You know, the umbrella is over there.
Really, here we got an example of a land plot of 840 square meters. As a foreigner, to obtain a land plot like this, obviously everyone knows and understands, and there's a lot of speculations with regards to this. Right. But the question is, how can we obtain a land plot and build our own home, or perhaps do a project? There are several ways that you could do this. One is by having a company established in Thailand, in order to be able to purchase. So it's not you as an individual, but it's your company who's purchasing the land plot. This then obviously ultimately allows you to develop it, to build your own home or do a project.
So could we touch a little bit more on that? Because a lot of people, right, from Westerners or whatever, can you elaborate more on having a company get it for you? Like, how does that all work?
Well, the system of setting up a company here, basically it's 49% foreign owned and 51% Thai ownership.
Gotcha.
Often is two investors, Thai and foreigner, who come together and establish the business. Now, this could be the foreigner having maybe 90% of the shares of the company, and the Thai may have only 20%, or the other way around. Nevertheless, in order to keep and preserve the infrastructure of, I would say,
so the infrastructure, right. So just let me add on to that, like we kind of find our thoughts. So foreigners outright can't own the land. Is that correct?
Foreigners cannot own outright the land, indeed. There's currently, over the last few years, some talks in the parliament where they are looking into giving the opportunity for those foreigners who are in real love of this nation. So they would like to give this opportunity. It's still in talks in the parliament, and I guess at some point it will be voted in favor, where a foreigner could obtain one rai, which is equivalent to 1,600 square meter of land plots. And that would be one time in your life.
Nice, nice. So can you also enlighten the viewers, like, what are the typical restrictions you are faced with when you want to, first of all, getting a land to ultimately building something on the land?
Well, I think once we've gone over the hurdle of, purchasing the land plot through the company, then comes all the little nitty gritty, should I say, of international laws. I guess wherever you go, anywhere in the world, there are always these rules and regulations of building. And so, you have this building regulations, first of all. But like anything, you will need to submit planning permission in order to obtain a permit. And that's generally done via an architect who will do the drawings for you, and you submit this. It could take up to 8 to 12 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks.
That's the average time. Yeah.
Okay, great. So obviously we kind of got out the way. You cannot actually own any land, but you can lease. So can we touch on what do that look like, actual leasing the land?
Right. Well, that is indeed another option that many people, most specifically foreigners, tend to go for as well, is leasing a land plot. And for this, depending if it's for commercial purposes or not. But say if we go in another scenario of a genuine living space or making it a home, you'd be looking at giving the sorry.
No, don't worry.
I'm just worried about the umbrellas flying out.
Yeah, no worries.
So with regards to
how long can they lease? What?
Yes. So as you can imagine, the option of the lease will allow you to not necessarily go through the other route of owning a company. So this allows you to, even as an individual, to come and sign up a lease for 30 years.
Okay.
Or at least up to 30 years. When it becomes commercial, often it's 3 plus 3 plus 3 years. So that's 9 years. But when it's, for residency, then you're looking at 30 years plus 30 years plus 30 years.
Okay.
But
so
additional
90 years over the span.
Correct.
Got you. Is that consecutive? Do you have to do something every 30 years?
So every 30 years, the landowner would obviously your input. Generally, it's a year before your lease expires. You will reach out to each other and negotiate what would be the cost of this to renew. And all depending what you've already paid initially for the land plot. You will simply pay a little fee in order to renew the lease. Now, what we need to consider, and a lot of people make this mistake, is that they consider it as obtained. When we say 30 plus 30 plus 30, and in fact, we could possibly go on forever. 30 plus 30. Now, the Thai law, very precisely specifies that you can only lease for 30 years.
Okay.
And therefore, anyone signing any agreement or any contracts stipulating 30 plus 30 plus 30 is almost worthless.
Got you. Right.
So that's something you really need to be careful not to think about the following 60 years, but focus on the 30 years that you obtain.
You hear that? It's very important. So it's crucial in the first, 30 years. So what can you say, like this is going to be a natural concern for most Westerners. So A, like you said before, you want to make sure you focus on the first 30 years, but B, what happens if someone passes away? What happens to that land that they lease or per se, or if they actually built a property, what this look like? What happens?
Well, in this case, obviously, if one would have put in place some sort of
yeah, don't worry, I'm editing myself.
So if one would have put in place a testimonial or an official document which relates to whoever would be inheriting the act of property, or whatever wealth you may have, and this would be certainly a very important key to remember, and to specifically mention this to your lawyer, so they know who would eventually inherit whatever wealth or property you may have here.
Okay.
But it's pretty much very straightforward and very clear that one would pass away, it would go directly to their close relatives.
Got you. And so far, if you guys enjoying some information, if you can give a like and subscribe, share this with someone who is, looking for, property in Phuket per se, and would like to get in touch with Alex. And so let's kind of continue on to touch on that. So what would the typical cost like for something like this, the land? How much would that cost, like something like this?
Okay, so we are right now in the area of Krasatri, which is pretty much part of joint with Chung Tale in the sector of Bangkok, which is still northwest coast, where I would say 10 minutes drive to the seaside.
Beautiful area, by the way. Bangkok is beautiful.
Right, and this area where land plots were until 3-4 years ago worth almost nothing. Now it's become, as you can see, there's a development right opposite us and another project behind. So we are looking at 840 square meter. The advantage with this particular plot is that it has 2 roads, so it's got 2 entrances on both sides. Wow. So potentially, if you were to build 2 villas, you could easily do so, and not one side is losing a battle against the other, or diminishing in terms of the value. This is a land plot, 840, right at this moment is 12 million Thai baht.
Gotcha.
Which is
how much in US? Let's break that down. Most people in the US. So 12 million baht. All right. What do you say?
So we're looking at 370,000.
370,000. Well, not bad, right?
Which is roughly $44,000 a square meter.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Not too bad. Not too bad. And also, if a person don't have that big sum up front, what would that look like? If I had a nice down payment, and then can I spread it out over 4 or 5 years?
So that will entirely depend on the landowner or the seller of the property or the land plot. So there are options, there are facilities, everything is negotiable. And I think if one does not have the sufficient funds to purchase, then there are always options, and do not hesitate, discussing it, negotiating with either your agent, real estate agent, or directly with the landowner, where you can perhaps leave a deposit, initial deposit, and the rest can be paid over a amount of maybe several months or sometimes even several years. There may be some interest at the end of it, so it's certainly worth giving it a go if you don't have the full funds for it.
Got you. And lastly, why you think now is a good time, whether they considering acquiring a land plot or even buying a property? Why you think now is like the best time for that?
Well, now, just like it was yesterday, and it will certainly be for the next few years to come. Simply, we have track record of the growth of not only the developments and projects going on here in this particular area. The prices are increasing almost day by day. Right. This is probably the first year that we've experienced a much more sturdy increase. And it's also reassuring because it kind of gives us hope that there will never be, or at least in the near future, a bubble created due to many elements of tourism and influx of certain nations who arrived here. So there's no doubt that it's continuing to increase, and we can see on a daily basis that even developers who are buying these land plots at a fraction of a price, today they are going forward and making that move and making the acquisition, because there's always a good profit to be made on the project.
Perfect. So I guess we're going to kind of end it there. You have any more things you feel you want to touch on before we?
Yeah, I think there's one point we didn't really discuss. It could be mentioned, but just to be aware, obviously, those who are foreigners and live here, perhaps they might have a spouse or a partner who's Thai. Obviously, you may have this facility of putting the land plot under the name of your spouse or your partner.
Great point.
Which often it helps as well, because you would be paying less tax, or at least as a couple you'd be paying less tax.
But someone you really trust, guys.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, right. Like we gotta be candid with that, right?
Right. Indeed. But there are ways with the lawyers that you could sign, and your partner jointly, that you go to the lawyers to sign the documents, but also gives you access to a certain facility and security that they will not be able to sell without your consent. Now, whether in the face of the law would be valued in any way, maybe not. But one thing's for sure, like Jason just mentioned, is that make sure that you're with the right partner should you do that.
Absolutely.
And until now, we did have a few situations where not knowing the person, people put the under a loan name, as we say, and so obviously the government has been cracking down, which is a good thing, because this is a fraudulent transaction, putting it under someone you don't know, simply to maybe tax avoidance and
don't do it, guys. Play it safe. It's not worth it. So I just wanted to touch on one last quick thing. So you cannot own land plot, but is it possible to own property?
Correct. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was just about to say. Yeah. So say in a scenario, whether it's you bought through a company, or lease, or even maybe via your spouse or partner. The great thing here is that you could allow the other person, the other party, own the land, and then what you could do then is lease the land plots for 30 years. So in effect, it becomes your land for 30 years. That is the security that you would gain, which I was mentioning earlier, that you could sign with the lawyers. You then build your own home or the villa or the project, which can potentially be under your name or under your company name. It's absolutely not a problem. So you can detain a home, a villa right here on this spot, which would be yours on the title deed as a foreigner for good.
Good. Yeah.
Indefinite. It's not a lease in this case, you know, it doesn't have to be anyway. And the land would be on a lease basis. And more developers are actually offering this service, because let us not forget, when you are having a company established, there are fees and costs involved in it.
Absolutely.
You know, and unless, you know, the property is worth it and you're doing perhaps other activities with your company related to real estate, it's perhaps the best option, because that way you have, may I say, safe ground, because you have a lease for 30 years and you will also be able to live safely in your own home without being worried that it would be repossessed.
Perfect. So, thank you guys. Hopefully you enjoy this. Now we gave you a different perspective for us, like a off plot, right? Which is land. And we're going to continue to be bringing some amazing information to you guys. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about moving to Thailand. We'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you, my man.
Thank you. Thank you again. Always a pleasure.
Let's keep inspiring people to, move over to paradise. Cheers.
Thank you.